I had not been off the property since April. In farmer arithmetic, that is 120 days of the same fence lines and the same failed field and the same kitchen that only gets used for one person now, and the same particular silence of a house where someone used to be and isn't. I was not counting the days, but I knew the number the way you know the weight of something you've been carrying, not because you've measured it, but because you feel it everywhere. The farm in August of 1934 had the specific look of a place that has been through something and is still standing. The fields had failed for the third year, the wheat gone to dust before it could do much of anything, the soil pale and cracked in the pattern that becomes familiar after enough dry years, the fence posts leaning at the angles that fence posts lean when the soil that holds them has been drying and contracting for 3 seasons. The barn was sound, the house was maintained. I had kept both of those things because keeping them was what there was to do, and because a man who lets his barn go is a man who has stopped arguing with his situation, and I was not ready to stop arguing. The fair was Elsa's idea, and then it was Helen's idea delivered through Elsa. And then it was a promise I had made in May when the calf was small and the competition was abstract. And saying yes to a 12-year-old who asks you to come watch her do a thing she has worked on for 6 months is not a choice a man makes. It is simply what you do. Elsa had named the calf William. She had acquired him in January from the Hinsley operation 2 miles south, a bottle calf the Hinsleys weren't going to raise, and she had fed him through the winter and spring and into the summer with the focused seriousness of a 12-year-old who has decided that this is the thing she is going to do and is going to do it right. William was a Hereford, red with the white face, and by August he was a good calf. Better than good, honestly. He had the frame and the disposition and the quality of having been handled daily since birth that makes a show animal different from the field animal. Elsa had done that. She had done it without being asked and without being shown more than the basics, and she had done it right. I knew this because I knew cattle. My father had run a mixed operation before I simplified it to wheat only in the late 20s. 3 consecutive failed harvests had left me with a mortgage I was barely servicing. My wife Helen had left in April for her mother's in Wichita, and the correspondence between us had become the correspondence of 2 people being careful with each other in the way that precedes a decision neither has made yet. I had not been off the property except for the monthly supply run, which I kept brief. We drove the 14 miles to the fairgrounds on a Thursday morning. Elsa sat in the passenger seat trying to be professional about the competition and not quite managing it, which I understood because she was 12 and this was the first real thing she had ever done entirely by herself. "Do you think he's ready?" she said. "William is as ready as a calf gets," I said. "That's not the same as ready," she said. "No, but it's better than most." The Pratt County Fair in 1934 was not what it had been in 1929. Things had been subtracted from it: vendors, rides, the grandstand entertainment. But what remained was what had always been the core of it: the livestock. The cattle and the hogs and the sheep, the 4-H competitions, the animals and the people who raised them. We found a stall for William, and I helped Elsa get him settled and looked at the other calves in the junior division. There were 11. Most were good. 2 were very good. William was one of the very good ones, which I noted and did not say to Elsa. The other very good calf, a black Angus from the south end of the county, was going to make the judging close. The judging was at 10 o'clock. At 9:50, I was at the ring fence with a cup of fair coffee, watching Elsa walk William around the warm-up area with the careful economy of motion she brought to everything she'd decided mattered. And I was thinking that whatever happened, she had done something real, and I should tell her that afterward. That was all I was thinking. And that is when the judge came through the gate. She was medium height, and she moved through the ring the way people move who know exactly what they have come to do, purposeful in the specific way of someone for whom the task at hand is familiar and important. She had golden blonde hair and a braid over her left shoulder, the color of wheat in the last days before harvest, which in Kansas in August is a color that does things to a man's attention regardless of whether he is in the market for it. She was wearing a pale blue dress and practical shoes and a small silver pin at her collar, and she had amber brown eyes that were, the moment they found the calves, entirely focused on the calves. I watched her judge. She moved through the calves with the patient, systematic attention of someone who has been doing this long enough to have developed a method and trusts the method. She ran her hands along the backs and hindquarters with the practiced assessment of someone who knows what the bone and muscle underneath the hide should feel like. Not feeling for the show of it, but reading it. The way you read track conditions, or soil, or weather. Extracting information that the surface is offering if you know how to ask. She looked at the feet, which most judges in my experience did not do properly or did not do at all. She looked at how each calf held itself on the lead, the disposition, the response to the handler, the specific quality of an animal that has been worked with daily versus one that has been cleaned up for the occasion. She took her time without being slow, which is a different thing, and the distinction was visible in how she moved. She got to William. Elsa was on the other end of William's lead rope, trying to be calm, doing a reasonable impression of calm that I recognized as identical to the impression I had been doing all morning. The judge came along William's side, and Elsa stood very still, and William, who had been handled daily since January by a 12-year-old who had done it right, stood exactly as well as he needed to stand. The judge looked at William for a long time. Then she looked at Elsa. "How long have you been working him?" "Since January," Elsa said. "He was a bottle calf." "I can tell. The handling shows." She looked at William again. "He's very correct." Elsa said thank you, and the judge moved on, and I watched Elsa's face do the thing where she was trying not to smile because it would be unprofessional, and I turned back to my coffee. The Black Angus got first. William got second. Elsa accepted the red ribbon with the specific composure of a 12-year-old who prepared herself for both outcomes and is now recalibrating for second with the quiet dignity of someone who is going to cry about it later, privately, in the truck, and who is not going to cry about it here. I was at the ring gate when she came out. "Second is honest," I said. "That Angus was a good calf." "I know," she said. She took William back to his stall. I walked to the ring gate, and the judge was there making notes in a small notebook, and she looked up when I stopped. "Excuse me, I'm Elsa's father, the Hereford." She looked at me with the amber brown eyes. "The second place?" "Yes. I wanted to say what you said about the handling, that you could tell. That meant something to Elsa." She looked at me for a moment with the direct quality I had noticed when she was judging, the same attention she brought to the calves. "It was accurate," she said. "Your daughter did good work. A bottle calf that handles like that at 7 months is not an accident. It's daily work over a long time." "She did it herself," I said. "I didn't help her." She looked at me again, the amber brown eyes in the August fairground light. "Why not?" she said. I thought about the honest answer. "This year she needed to do things by herself," I said, "and so did I." She received this without pressing it, which was the correct response. "Violet Holt," she said. "I judge the livestock here every year. I'm a teacher the rest of the time. Kingman County." "Tom Calder, Pratt County, wheat." "Wheat," she said. It arrived in the air between us with everything that word carried in Kansas in August 1934. 3 bad years, I said. "Most people around here have had 3 bad years," she said. Not dismissive. The acknowledgement of a woman who comes from farming and knows that 3 bad years is a fact and not a complaint. She looked at the fairground around us. "Have you seen the rest of the fair?" "I came for the cattle," I said. "There's good cattle in the senior division too. I'm finished judging, if you want to walk through." The August light was doing the thing it does in the afternoon, going gold and horizontal, catching everything at an angle that makes it look like a different place than it is at noon. "I'd like that," I said. We walked the senior livestock division because she knew it and I knew it, and knowing the same thing is a reasonable place to start a conversation with a stranger at a county fair. She had opinions about the mature cattle that were informed and occasionally contrary to the ribbons that had been awarded. "The Angus bull in ring 3, I said. "The ribbon's right." "The ribbon's right about the body," she said. "The feet are wrong. Nobody looked at the feet." I looked at the feet. She was correct. "You're right about the feet," I said. "I know," she said without smugness, just as a fact. We walked through the 4-H exhibition hall. Elsa had an entry in the sewing category, a pinafore she had made in the spring, and I found it on its hanger and stood looking at it. "Yours?" Violet said. "My daughter's. She made it for her mother." I paused. "Her mother is in Wichita." Violet looked at the pinafore. "Is she coming to the fair? Her mother?" "No," I said. She received this completely and without pressing it. We moved on, and I found that the specific quality of a woman who does not press the things that do not require pressing is, when you have been alone for 4 months, something you notice the way you notice warmth when you have been cold. We found Elsa at the food vendors, eating a corn dog with the undivided attention of a 12-year-old who has been anxiously professional all morning and is now simply hungry. She looked up when she saw me with Violet, and her expression did the complicated thing 12-year-olds' expressions do. "This is Miss Holt. She judged the livestock." "I know," Elsa said, then to Violet, "You said the handling showed." "It did, very clearly." "Second place is honest," Elsa said. "That Angus was a good calf." "He was," Violet said. "But William's frame is better. In 2 years, with another season, he would take first." Elsa absorbed this with the seriousness it deserved. "I'm going to enter him again next year." "I'll look forward to seeing him," Violet said. Elsa excused herself to check on William. I watched her go. "She's good," Violet said. "She is." "She gets it from someone," Violet said. She said it looking at the livestock barn where Elsa had gone, not at me. We got 2 cups of the fair coffee, both of us knowing it was fair coffee, and both of us getting it anyway, which told me something about both of us. Specifically, that we were the kind of people who don't refuse the available thing because the available thing isn't the best thing, and sat on the wooden bleachers by the empty show ring in the afternoon heat. The ring was empty now, the morning's competition done, the livestock back in their stalls. The fairground moved around us at the particular pace of a fair afternoon, which is slower than the morning, but more itself, the initial business of the day completed, and what remains being the fair for its own sake. "It's worth it," she said about the fair, "even if it's half what it was." "Why?" I said. She looked at the fairground, at the families and the farmers and the children, all of them in the specific condition of people who have been having a difficult year and have come to the fair anyway. "Because it's still itself," she said. "It still does the thing it's for. Things that still do the thing they're for are worth keeping." I thought about that. About a farm that is still a farm even when the wheat doesn't come up. About a daughter who still raises a calf with the daily careful attention it requires, even when everything around her is reduced. "Yes," I said, "that's right." She looked at me. The afternoon light was fully gold now, catching her hair, the golden braid over her left shoulder, and her amber brown eyes and the silver pin at her collar. "Tom," she said. "Violet," I said. "I drive 40 miles to come here every August, since my county's fair folded. I come for the cattle and stay for the rest of it, and drive home Sunday evening." She looked at the show ring. "I've been doing it alone for 3 years." "I've been alone on the farm for 4 months," I said. "I came today for Elsa." "I know," she said. "I could tell." "What could you tell?" I said. "The boots. You wore your good boots. The rest of the clothes were clean but every day. But the boots were your best ones." She looked at them. "A man wears his best boots to something that matters to him. The boots told me it was for her." I looked at my boots. "I hadn't thought about that," I said. Boots never lie, she said. Cattle either. The corner of her mouth did the quick thing. That's most of what I know, but it's useful. I looked at this woman beside me on the bleachers who had come 40 miles for this fair, and who knew what a good calf looked like, and who had noticed my boots. There's a supper social tonight, I said. In the exhibition hall, 7 o'clock. Elsa and I were going to eat and drive back after. I paused. I'd like it if you'd join us. She looked at the exhibition hall, then at me. I drove 40 miles, she said. I'm not leaving before supper. I laughed. I hadn't laughed since I couldn't remember when. It arrived before I decided to allow it, which was how I knew it was real. The supper social was in the exhibition hall, long tables set up between the displayed items, the county's women having produced the collective abundance that Kansas County women produce for these occasions, regardless of the year's difficulty. We found 3 seats together, and Elsa sat between us and ate with the restored appetite of a child whose anxiety has been resolved by a red ribbon and a corn dog, and a woman who said William's frame was better. Violet knew people. 3 years of livestock judging in a county means you know the names and the cattle, and in Kansas, knowing the cattle means knowing the people. She talked to them easily, the farmers and their wives and the 4-H parents, with the specific quality of someone who belongs to the world she is moving through. I observed this from the slight remove of a man who has been off his farm for 4 months and has become, without noticing it, someone who does not entirely know how to be in a crowd of people anymore. She noticed. She came back to our table and said something to Elsa about William's front feet, which gave me time to settle back into the room, which I did, and which she saw me do without commenting on. After supper, there was music, a fiddle and a guitar, and the tables were moved and the floor cleared, and people danced with the specific joy of people who have been having a hard year and have decided, for one August Saturday evening, to dance anyway. Elsa danced with a girl from her 4-H group. I stood at the edge of the floor with Violet, and the fiddle did what fiddles do in a room full of people who need it. Do you dance? I said. I grew up on a cattle ranch, she said. Of course I dance. I put my hand out. She took it. She danced the way she moved through the livestock ring, with ease and economy, and the specific quality of someone who knows what they're doing. I danced less well. She adapted without making it apparent she was adapting. We danced 2 dances. Then the music went slow. She looked at me and I looked at her, and we danced the slow one, which was different from the first 2 in the way that slow dances are different. There is less room in them for anything other than the fact of being there. Kingman County is 40 miles, I said. Yes, she said. That's a long drive on a Sunday evening. It is. There's a good place for Sunday dinner in Pratt, I said, before the road home. She was quiet for a moment. The fiddle played. Around us, people moved. Elsa was visible across the room, not looking at us, which meant she was absolutely looking at us. Violet, I said. Yes. I haven't talked to anyone in 4 months, I said. Not like this. Not about anything that wasn't the farm or the weather. I paused. I had forgotten what it was like, to just talk to someone. She looked at me. I know what you mean, she said. Teaching is not the same as talking. You talk all day and come home and there's nothing left but the quiet. Yes, I said. Sunday dinner in Pratt, she said. There and back is an extra 20 miles. I know. I'll need to be back in Kingman by 4. Papers to grade. Dinner at noon, I said. You'd be home by 3. She looked at the dance floor and then at me. All right, she said. We finished the slow dance. Elsa materialized at my elbow with the timing of a 12-year-old who has been monitoring developments. It's 9 o'clock, she said. William needs his check. Go, I said. She turned back. Miss Holt, William's going to be first next year, if you're judging again. I'll be judging again, Violet said. Good, Elsa said, and she went. I looked at Violet. She was looking at where Elsa had gone, the corner of her mouth doing the quick thing. She's something, Violet said. She did all of it herself this year. The calf, the pinafore, all of it. She needed to. This year, Violet said, not a question. This year, I said. She stayed for the last dance. Then she said goodnight to Elsa and goodnight to me, and she walked to the parking area, and I watched her go in the August fair night. Elsa stood beside me. She knows cattle, Elsa said. She does. She said William's frame is better than the Angus. She's right about that. Elsa was quiet. She's coming to Sunday dinner, she said, not a question. How did you know that? I was watching, she said, with the simple honesty of a 12-year-old who sees no reason to pretend otherwise. We loaded William and drove home in the August dark, the fairground receding behind us, and the farm road coming up ahead, and the Kansas night doing its enormous quiet thing around the truck. William had opinions about the return trip that he expressed briefly and then abandoned. Elsa fell asleep against the window at about the 10-mile mark with the red ribbon in her hand, which she had been holding since 11:30, and which she was going to hold, I suspected, all the way home, and possibly in her sleep, and possibly at breakfast tomorrow, because she was 12, and she had earned it, and that was what you did with things you had earned. I drove the rest of the way in the August dark, thinking about the fair, and the cattle, and the dance, and 40 miles, and Sunday dinner in Pratt, and a woman with golden hair and amber eyes who drove 40 miles to a fair that still did the thing it was for, because things that still do the thing they're for are worth keeping. I thought about that line for the rest of the drive. It seemed to me to be one of the true things, the kind that arrives from somewhere you don't fully understand and sits in you afterward with the particular weight of accuracy. The farm came up on the left at the 11-mile mark, the lane visible before the house was, the way it always is when you know a road well enough that the turns happen in your body before your eyes register them. The lane, the house, the barn, all of it still there, the way it was every time I came back to it, which I had been doing for 38 years. The wheat had failed 3 times running. The fence lines were the same fence lines my grandfather had put in. The house was the house I had been born in, maintained and quiet and mine in the specific way that land is yours when you have worked it long enough that the knowing of it goes into your hands and your feet, and the way you move through it without thinking. The house was quiet. It had been quiet since April. I had gotten used to the quiet the way you get used to things you have no choice about, which is to say imperfectly, and with awareness of the imperfection. I pulled into the lane and carried Elsa inside and put her to bed with the ribbon still in her hand, and went back outside and sat on the porch step in the August dark. The stars were the specific density of Kansas stars in August, dense enough to make you understand that the sky is full of things that have been there longer than anything on the ground. I had not been off the property since April. Tomorrow I would be back on the fence lines, back on the failed field, back in the kitchen that only gets used for one person. But Sunday there was dinner in Pratt, and a woman who drove 40 miles for a county fair because it still did the thing it was for, and a daughter with a red ribbon and a calf with a better frame. That was enough. That was the specific kind of more than enough that you don't see coming and that arrives when it does, like August light, sudden and golden, and making everything look like itself again. I went inside. I made the coffee for the morning the way I made it every night. In the morning, I got up and did the work. On Sunday, I drove to Pratt.